The first sound came softly, like fingertips drumming against an empty glass. I thought it belonged to wind, perhaps a branch scratching across the gutter. Yet the rhythm felt deliberate, steady, insistent. Midnight always carried a certain stillness through our neighborhood, so even the faintest disturbance unsettled me. I rose from bed carefully, not wanting to disturb Clara. She slept beside me, her hair scattered across the pillow like ribbons of ink spilled upon ivory fabric. I lingered briefly, watching her chest rise, fall, rise again. That sight often reminded me why I married her. The serenity she seemed to hold when the rest of the world felt turbulent. The sound returned, 3 short taps, then silence. My pulse began racing. I moved quietly through the hall, feet brushing against old hardwood that creaked at the lightest step. Our house was small but filled with memories, each wall hiding stories, arguments, reconciliations, whispered promises during restless nights. At the front door, I paused. The porch light revealed nothing beyond frosted glass. Darkness blanketed the yard, street lamps distant and dim. My hand hovered over the lock, torn between curiosity and caution. Finally, I turned it slowly, hinges groaning as the door opened. Standing there was a man. His coat looked drenched, his face hidden beneath shadows. He lifted his head, and I caught the glint of tired eyes, sharp but desperate. "Please," he whispered. "I need somewhere safe." Every instinct told me to shut the door. Strangers in the night never meant anything good. Yet before I could react, Clara's voice drifted from behind me. "Let him in." I spun around. She stood barefoot, her nightdress clinging softly against her figure, her expression unreadable. It was not fear I saw, nor confusion, it was recognition. My stomach tightened. "You know him?" I asked, bewildered. Her gaze slid past me toward the man. "Yes." I hesitated, torn between demanding an explanation and obeying her plea. Against better judgment, I stepped aside. The man entered quickly, shutting the door with practiced ease, as though familiar with secrecy. He smelled of rain, iron, smoke. Clara moved closer, touching his arm gently. That subtle intimacy, barely visible yet undeniable, stabbed me deeper than I expected. She whispered something too low for me to hear, and he nodded. "Who is he?" I demanded. Her eyes finally met mine. There was no trembling, no hesitation, only calm defiance. "Someone who needs our help." Questions swarmed inside me. Why my wife? Why here? Why this stranger cloaked in mystery? But her tone left no room for argument. Against my will, I remained silent, though suspicion burned hotter with every breath. That night, I returned to bed beside Clara, yet sleep never touched me. The stranger's presence filled every corner, every shadow, every heartbeat. And for the first time in our marriage, I wondered what secrets my wife carried, and whether those secrets belonged to me at all. Morning arrived heavy, like a storm crouched upon the horizon, though the sky outside glowed clear and blue. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing coffee that tasted bitter no matter how much sugar I stirred into it. Across from me, Clara sliced fruit with unusual precision, her knife movements careful, steady, almost ritualistic. He was upstairs. That fact alone poisoned every sip. A stranger under my roof, unknown, dangerous, yet treated by my wife as though he belonged here. The walls felt narrower, the ceiling lower. My own home no longer seemed mine. "Who is he, Clara?" I finally asked, voice low but strained. She didn't look up. "An old friend." That answer clawed at me. Old friend, 2 words that could mean anything, everything. The way she said it carried weight, a tone woven from history. What kind of friend knocks on our door at midnight, soaking wet, asking for shelter? Her hands paused, fingers brushing apple slices into a neat pile. She lifted her gaze then, steady, almost defiant. "The kind who has nowhere else to go." Before I could press further, footsteps sounded on the stairs. He appeared in the doorway, hair damp, shirt clinging to his frame. Despite exhaustion written across his features, He carried himself with confidence, almost arrogance. His eyes scanned the room before resting on Clara, softening ever so slightly. "Coffee?" she asked him. He nodded, and she poured without hesitation, setting the cup in front of him before he even sat down. That small gesture twisted inside me like a knife. She knew his tastes, his timing, his rhythm, details that belonged to intimacy, not charity. I cleared my throat. "Name?" He raised an eyebrow. "Daniel. Daniel." A simple word, yet it carried a weight I couldn't ignore. I studied him closely. Scar cutting across his jawline, knuckles bruised, eyes constantly shifting as though calculating exit. This man wasn't simply lost or homeless. He was running. From what, or who, I didn't know. Clara reached across the table, resting her hand briefly on his wrist. The touch lingered a second too long. "Eat something," she urged softly. Jealousy burned hot inside me. The kind of burn that doesn't flare instantly but spreads, slow and relentless. Her voice held a tenderness she rarely used for me anymore. "Why here?" I asked Daniel directly. His gaze met mine, unflinching. "Because this is the only place I trust." Trust. Another blade sinking deeper. My wife's house, my marriage, my life. Yet his words claimed a piece of it. Silence draped over us like thick fog. Clara eventually stood, clearing plates that hadn't been touched. Daniel's eyes followed her with an intensity that confirmed what I already feared. They shared something I wasn't part of. That night, lying beside Clara, I couldn't ignore the subtle way she shifted closer to me, as though compensating for the distance she had already built. Her warmth pressed against me, but my thoughts circled endlessly around Daniel upstairs, around secrets hidden beneath our roof, around the possibility that I had already lost what I thought was mine. By the third day, I realized the house itself was betraying me. Every creak of the stairs, every muffled whisper through the thin walls, every locked glance between Clara and Daniel, it all conspired to drive me mad. What once felt like home now pressed down on me like a cage, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was the prisoner, not him. I started watching them carefully. I told myself it was caution, vigilance, protection. But truth lingered beneath. It was obsession. I needed to know what Clara wasn't telling me. That afternoon, when she left for the market, I crept upstairs. Daniel's duffel bag sat half open by the guest bed. Inside, beneath rumpled shirts and a worn jacket, I found steel. A gun, black, heavy, smelling faintly of oil and gunpowder. My hands trembled as I held it. This wasn't an ordinary man down on luck. This was someone hiding from something deadly. Before I could search further, I heard footsteps. Daniel filled the doorway, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "Looking for something?" he asked, voice sharp yet calm. I placed the gun back quickly, forcing my face into indifference. "Making sure my house stays safe." He smirked, stepping inside. His presence filled the small room, radiating confidence that unsettled me. "Safe is a funny word. Depends who you're asking." I didn't respond. My pulse hammered, but I refused to back away. We stood there, locked in silent combat, until Clara's voice floated up from downstairs. "Dinner's ready." Daniel brushed past me, his shoulder grazing mine deliberately, as though reminding me whose strength dominated this house now. At the table, Clara laughed softly at something he said. I couldn't remember the last time I'd drawn that sound from her. Each note of her laughter felt like glass, splintering in my chest. When she reached to pour him more wine, her hand brushed his. Neither pulled away quickly enough. That fleeting touch told me more than any confession ever could. My stomach twisted with rage, but I forced a smile, pretending to share the moment. Later, when Clara slept, I sat in darkness, staring out the window. The gun's image haunted me. The bruises on Daniel's knuckles, the way his eyes scanned every shadow, the ease with which he settled into my wife's care, it all painted one undeniable truth. He wasn't merely a fugitive. He was a danger. Yet the greater danger was already here. Clara's silence, Clara's devotion, Clara's choice to shelter him. That choice told me she belonged to him in ways she no longer belonged to me. I clenched my fists until nails bit into skin. Something had to break, either him, her, or me. The house couldn't contain all three much longer. Rain returned that night, hammering the windows with relentless rhythm. Clara sat in the living room beside the fireplace, a blanket draped loosely around her shoulders. Daniel occupied the chair across from her, shadows dancing across his face as flames flickered. I stood in the doorway, unseen, listening. Their voices carried low, intimate, meant to stay hidden. "You shouldn't have come here," Clara whispered. "I had no choice," Daniel replied. "They're hunting me. You know what I've done." Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the blanket tighter. "I know. And still, I couldn't turn you away." The words stabbed deep. Every syllable felt like betrayal coated in tenderness. She hadn't said those things to me in years, not with that depth, that longing. Daniel leaned forward, voice dropping. "You're risking everything for me." "I already did a long time ago," she said. Silence fell, thick, dangerous, filled with ghosts I had never met. My chest constricted as realization set in. Their connection wasn't recent. This wasn't a chance reunion. They carried history, secrets carved long before I entered Clara's life. I stepped forward deliberately, forcing them to notice me. Clara startled, her eyes widening with guilt before she masked it quickly. Daniel only stared, unflinching, as though daring me to ask. "How long?" I demanded. Neither answered immediately. Clara rose slowly, approaching me with careful step. "It's not what you think." Anger erupted inside me. "Not what I think. He hides in our house with a gun in his bag, scars on his skin, blood on his hands, and you look at him like he's yours." Her lips parted, but no defense came. The silence confirmed what I feared most. Daniel stood then, calm, confident. "Blame me, not her. I pulled her into this." "No," I spat. "She chose this. She chose you." Clara's face crumpled, torn between denial and truth. Tears welled but never fell. Instead, she turned away, unable to meet my eyes. That gesture, so small, so final, cut deeper than any knife. I wanted to scream, to throw him out, to demand she swear her loyalty. But beneath fury lay something darker, fear. Fear that, if I forced a choice, I would lose. Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I'm not here to ruin you. I just need time. When I'm gone, you'll have her again." But his words rang hollow. Because I saw the way Clara's body leaned toward him, the way her breath caught at his nearness. Even if he left, she would never fully return. I retreated upstairs, leaving them with firelight and whispers. In the darkness of our bedroom, I pressed my palms to my face, fighting the urge to break apart. For the first time since the knock in the night, I admitted a truth I had resisted. My wife's heart no longer belonged to me. I didn't sleep. Instead, I listened. Every creak in the floorboards below, every hushed exchange carried upward like smoke. I imagined her hand brushing his, her eyes locking with his across the firelight, her smile meant for him, not me. Those visions tormented me more than the truth of his weapon or his crimes. Betrayal cuts deeper when it's dressed as love. At dawn, I rose. Clara lay curled beside me, face turned toward the window, strands of hair sticking to damp cheeks. Tears had dried there. I wanted to brush them away, but my hand froze midair. The woman I once reached for without thought now felt unreachable, distant, foreign. Downstairs, Daniel stood by the window, curtain lifted slightly as he scanned the empty street. His shirt clung to him, damp with sweat. He looked like a predator cornered, yet still unshaken, still in control. "Expecting company?" I asked. He didn't turn. "They'll find me sooner or later. I'm only buying time." I stepped closer, voice low, dangerous. "You've already stolen time. You've stolen her." That earned his attention. He faced me fully, eyes sharp, cold. "She was never yours completely. Not the way you wanted." Rage surged through me, but before I could lash out, Clara entered quietly. She carried 2 mugs of coffee, placing one in front of him without hesitation. For me, nothing. That single omission shattered the last fragile thread of my restraint. "Stop pretending," I roared. "Stop hiding what you feel for him. Do you think I don't see it?" Clara flinched, but Daniel stepped forward, blocking her slightly, as though protecting her from me. That gesture broke me more than words ever could. "You don't get to raise your voice at her," Daniel said calmly, dangerously. "She's my wife," I snapped. "No," he corrected, his voice like steel. "She's hers. Always has been." Clara finally spoke, trembling. "Please stop. Both of you. This isn't what I wanted." I turned on her, desperation replacing fury. "Then what do you want, Clara? Him? Me? Both? You can't keep us here together like animals waiting to tear each other apart." Her lips parted, but no answer came. That silence screamed louder than any confession. I stormed out of the room, fists clenched, breath ragged. My world had collapsed into 2 truths I couldn't escape. The man in my house was a criminal, and the woman in my bed was no longer mine. From upstairs, I retrieved the gun I had seen earlier. It felt heavy, final, cold in my hand. I didn't know whether I intended to protect Clara from Daniel, protect myself from both, or end this torment another way entirely. But I knew one thing with certainty: the breaking point had arrived. The gun felt like ice in my grip as I descended the stairs. My heartbeat thudded in my ears, drowning out the rain outside, drowning out reason itself. Daniel and Clara stood together near the doorway, their bodies angled toward each other as if the rest of the world no longer mattered. Daniel saw the weapon first. His posture shifted instantly, alert, measured, unafraid. Clara's gasp followed, sharp and desperate, her hands flying to her mouth. "Put it down," she begged, stepping toward me. "No," I said, my voice trembling, though not with fear. "Not until I have answers." Daniel raised his hands slightly, cautious, calm. "This isn't the way." "The way?" I spat. "You walk into my house, you take my wife's loyalty, her heart, maybe even her body, and you tell me this isn't the way?" Clara's tears spilled freely now. "Please, listen to me. I didn't plan this. I didn't know he would come. But when I saw him again," she faltered, breath catching, "I realized the part of me that's been missing all these years never left him." Her words crushed me more than the gun's weight ever could. The truth, spoken aloud, final and undeniable. Daniel stepped forward slightly, his voice steady. "If you pull that trigger, you don't just kill me, you destroy her. Whatever she still feels for you will die here too." I aimed at his chest, finger tightening. My hands shook, not from hesitation but from the storm raging inside me. Rage, grief, love, loss, all colliding. Clara rushed forward, placing herself between us. Her arms spread wide, shielding him with her body. "If you shoot him, you shoot me." Time froze. The fire hissed. Rain pounded harder against the windows. And I realized in that single moment that the war was already over. She had chosen. Not me. Not us. Him. My grip loosened. The gun clattered against the floor, echoing like a verdict. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the nearest chair, breath shuddering, soul hollow. Clara turned immediately to Daniel, her hands gripping his arms, her eyes searching him with frantic care. That sight, her devotion, her need for him, stabbed deeper than any blade. Daniel retrieved the weapon, tucking it back into his bag. His eyes lingered on me briefly. There was no gloating, no triumph, only a quiet acknowledgement. I had lost. Clara didn't speak to me again that night. She didn't need to. Silence carried her choice more clearly than words ever could. When dawn arrived, they were gone. The house felt emptier than ever, stripped of warmth, stripped of illusion. Only the faint smell of smoke and the memory of footsteps remained. I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the untouched second mug of coffee Clara had never poured for me. For the first time, I understood the cruelest part of betrayal. It isn't the lie itself, It's the truth revealed too late to change anything.